Hey guys, so today's video is super exciting. This is going to be my top 10 MAC products. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that MAC is one of my all-time favorite brands. So I've already done a top 10 video on e.l.f. and Maybelline, which I will have linked for you guys. Please let me know in a comment down below what brands you would like to see a top 10 of. And for me, that's really going to depend on which brands I've tried the most products from and fallen in love with the most products from. I am going to have a top 10 NYX video coming shortly. First, I want to test out some of their new spring items, and then I will put together that video for you guys because NYX is one of my other favorite brands. So back into this video. As you guys know, when it comes to these types, I always cheat. So I don't only have 10 products, I actually have 12. So the other two are limited edition products, so I wanted to mention them as extras, and I wanted to mention them in case they're ever re-released or you find them at a CCO. I want you to be able to get your hands on them and try them out because they are phenomenal products. So I'm going to have everything listed in the description box so you can have that to refer back to. And I've also filmed a ton of different MAC videos that I will have linked throughout as well if you would like to check those out. So now just jumping into the products. So my first product would be the MAC Pro Longwear Concealer. I'm in the shade NC15, and first off, I really want to commend MAC on their extensive shade selection of all their products, but especially their complexion products. They have shades for very fair skin tones to very deep. They have warm, cool, and neutral undertones in their complexion products, which I really love. And I know sometimes they can be a bit strong, so you might have to mix. But for me, I'm very fair, but very yellow, and it's super hard for me to find a match, but NC15 is a great match for me. So this concealer is holy grail status for me because this is an all-purpose, all-year-round type of product. I can use this in the dead of winter, and I can also use it in the heat of summer. This works great for under eyes and blemishes. It gives great full coverage with a satin finish to it, so it will work on basically every skin type, which is incredible. And I use this on the daily to cover up my blemishes, and it does work great for the under eyes, but for me, I don't have very dark under eye circles, so I can basically use any concealer and it will work. So I usually go for a drugstore concealer for my under eyes, but this is my favorite I've ever tried for the blemishes because whether they're dry or fairly oily, this holds up perfectly and looks incredible. The next thing I wanted to mention are their shaping and sculpting powders, which are pro products you can buy in a pro store or online. I purchased mine online, and they only come in these pan form. They don't come in potted versions unless it comes out with a special collection. So the shaping powder is for highlighting, the sculpting powder is for contouring, and both of these powders come in 5 different shades, so every skin tone will be able to find a highlight and contour powder for them. The highlighting shaping powder I have is Emphasize, and the contouring sculpting powder I have a Sculpt. This is the lightest highlight shade, and this is the second lightest contour shade, and they apply and blend so perfectly. They're also really pigmented without being overly pigmented, so I'm really impressed by that. And now onto my favorite category of makeup ever, blush. MAC blushes are some of my absolute favorite. I love their mineralized and their regular powder blushes, but first I'm going to start talking about the mineralized, and this is the old packaging. The new packaging is magnetic and I actually don't like it, but the good thing about that is I just went to a CCO last week and they have all of the old packaging mineralized blushes there, so they had a ton of Warm Soul. So check your CCO so you can get this at a discount and in the old packaging. So like I said, this is Warm Soul. This is a beautiful peachy tan color, and I think that this would be such a beautiful bridal blush and give such a nice natural peachy glow to your cheeks. I think this is better for fair to light skin tones, but I've also seen a lot of medium skin tone girls rock this and really love it. And all of the mineralized blushes have shimmer to them, so if you are not a fan of shimmer, then you will not like these. But these are not as shimmery as something like a Milani baked blush, so keep that in mind. But this just gives the most beautiful glow, one of my holy grail favorite blushes. So now moving on to MAC's regular powder blushes. I have 4 of their permanent shades, and I also have some limited edition shades, which I will share with you as well because they are my favorite colors ever. So I have a video of what's in my MAC palettes for both cheek and eyes, so I will have that linked for you guys because I go over the colors with their descriptions and I swatch them all and everything. So now just to show you the colors I have, which would be Breath of Plum, Fleur Power, Cantaloupe, and Melba. Cantaloupe is a pro shade that you can only get at the pro store or online. So this right here is like the perfect versatile cheek palette. The only thing is that I would probably replace Cantaloupe with a pink blush like Pink Swoon, because then you'd have a highlight, contour, plum, coral, pink, and peach blush. MAC powder blushes are so beautiful, but almost all of them are overly pigmented, really intense. So I recommend using a duo fiber blush brush to apply them. That is what I always do. With the mineralized blushes, they aren't quite as pigmented, so I will use a more dense angled blush brush for the mineralized. And of course, the brush that you use is also going to depend on the color of the blush. So these 4 permanent powder blushes are the only ones that I really want right now, but I cannot resist MAC's limited edition blushes. I have 4 of them here to share with you, and they are all from summer collections, which I guess I'm just drawn to the colors MAC releases in the summer, so I wanted to share them with you in case you have them in your collection. It may inspire you to bring them out, or you might decide that you have to have it and look for it online like I did. So the first one I have here is Fleet Fast, which is a satin finish. This came out in the Haze Sailor collection from summer 2012. The next shade they have is Ripe for Love, which is also a satin finish. This came out in the Temperature Rising summer 2013 collection. Then I have Peaches and Cream, which is also a satin finish. I'm wearing this one today. This came out in the Sharon Osbourne collection, summer 2014. And lastly, I have MAC Sideshow You, which is also a satin finish. This came out in the Simpsons collection, summer 2014. So as you can see, I love MAC's Summer Limited Edition blushes, and this year they're coming out with a collection called Wash and Dry, which has such beautiful packaging. So search that on Instagram for some sneak peeks of that collection, and they are re-releasing the shade Hypnus, which came out in the To The Beach collection years ago before I was ever interested in MAC, and Hypnus is such a beautiful shade, right up my alley, and I cannot wait to get my hands on that this summer, so I'm excited about that. So needless to say, MAC blushes are some of my holy grail must-have. I love all of their shades of pigmentation, the wear time, everything is really phenomenal. So now moving on to the eye products, the first I wanted to mention would be the MAC paint pots. I have the shade Nubile, which is a really light peachy shade, and this was a limited edition shade, but they have so many in their range. So I am a definite cream shadow lover. I have a ton of Maybelline color tattoos and Milani shadow pencils, and I only have 2 MAC paint pots. But for me, the more bright, colorful shades, I would rather purchase in the Maybelline color tattoos because I won't wear them as much. But a great matte neutral skin tone base I would definitely buy from MAC because I would get a lot more use out of that. That's totally up to you. That's just how I decide which brand to buy the cream shadow from. And MAC has several matte skin tone paint pots. They have Painterly, which is a very light cream with a pink undertone. They have Soft Ochre, which is a light yellow. And they have a couple of different tans and browns that would be really great for deeper skin tones to use as a base, and basically just to help cancel out your lids, create a blank canvas for your shadow to go on top of, apply more pigmentedly and true to color. So the MAC paint pots are incredible. Also, in comparison to the Maybelline color tattoos, these are a thinner formula, so they do not dry out near as fast as a Maybelline color tattoo will. So I really like that. These also do not get thick, so they're very easy to apply whether you have, you know, oily lids, dry lids, normal lids. These apply really well, they last well, and they really help to keep your shadow from creasing. I still need to use an eyeshadow primer, but that's just because my eyelids are super oily, but I definitely recommend these. Now moving on to eyeshadow, I have a single and a 15 pan palette. Like I said, I do have videos of what's in my MAC cheek and eyeshadow palettes, which I will link for you guys, but first I want to mention the eyeshadow I have in a single, and this is Omega, and this is my go-to brow powder. I would definitely recommend you try out some of the neutral matte eyeshadows from MAC because they are incredibly pigmented and would be great brow powders. I know that they released some shadows in duos as brow powders in a collection a while ago, but I prefer using a MAC shadow over a brow powder because these are super duper pigmented, and I can fill in my brows with just this and it will look awesome. So Omega is the perfect cool tone color for blonde brows. It's not going to apply too dark and it has no red undertones to it, which is really hard to find in a blonde brow product. So I totally recommend this. As you can see, I've hit pan. I am totally in love with this. The best brow powder I've ever used. So now moving on to my beloved MAC shadow palette. As you can see, I have 15 shades here, and right now there aren't any other permanent MAC eyeshadows that I feel like I have to have. I'm totally content with my palette, and as you can see, I have organized it by warm tones, cool tones, and brights. This side here has more shimmer shades, and this side has mattes with the exception of this one, and I love the variety I have in here, and I reach for this palette a lot more than my other palettes because I picked out all these colors. But most MAC eyeshadows are really pigmented. They're blendable without being overly blendable, like can sometimes happen with Lorac or even Urban Decay shadows. MAC shadows are my favorite brand. So really quickly, I will run through the colors with you. I have Woodwinked, Coppering, Sumptuous Olive, Soft Brown, and Brown Script. Yogurt, Satin Taupe, Cranberry, Hoe, Deep Damson. Stars and Rockets, Shimmer Moss, which was discontinued, but Steamy is the identical shade but with a frost finish. I have Expensive Pink, Free to Be, and Fig 1. In my What's in my MAC palettes video, I had all these shadows except for Fig 1, so I will describe it for you. This is a matte squared eggplant purple, really intensely pigmented and blendable without being overly blendable. The matte squared formula is really impressive because it isn't like a dry chalky matte. It's very creamy. So I have several tutorials using MAC shadows I will link down below for you guys. I have a tutorial using Stars and Rockets, one using Shimmer Moss, a tutorial for Satin Taupe, Hoe, and Deep Damson, a tutorial for Cranberry, and then I have a tutorial for Woodwink, Soft Brown, and Brown Script. I have a Cranberry tutorial and a Sumptuous Olive tutorial, so I'll have them all linked down below for you guys. Check them out if you want to see looks using these incredible shadows. But MAC shadows are my absolute favorite brand. They have so many shades to choose from, which can be overwhelming. So I recommend looking up swatches online. That really helped me when deciding to pick out my shadows. So my last eye product is actually a face product. This is the Studio Finish Concealer. I have the shade NC15. A lot of people like to use this for their blemishes, but for me it can be a little bit too dry and heavy feeling. So I much prefer the Pro Longwear, but what I use this for is to clean up the edge of my shadows to give a really nice sharp defined look. The consistency of this is so perfect for cleaning up shadow, and then I'll just set it with a powder. And this is a really great product. I also think this would be awesome to keep in your purse to touch up throughout the day in case you have a blemish that comes in, or you need to help correct some shadow, or if you're like me and you get sunglass marks on your nose, if you want to help cover that, this is a great travel product to help touch up on the go. So guys, now moving on to lip products. I only have one, but I have several shades I wanted to share with you, and that would be the Sheen Supreme lipsticks. So I have tried MAC's regular lipsticks. I've tried the Luster, Amplified, and the Satin finishes. I don't like them. I don't know what it is. I just don't like regular MAC lipsticks, which sucks because they have like a million colors to choose from, but none of the formulas are my favorite. I just don't care for them. But the Sheen Supremes I am obsessed with. So the reason I love MAC Sheen Supremes is that they are similar to a Revlon lip butter, except they are thicker, more opaque, and they last a lot longer. Those are all of the negatives that I heard about the Revlon lip butters. So if you're someone that didn't like those factors but love the product itself, try out the Sheen Supremes. You will not be disappointed. I'm wearing one of them today, which I will show you in a minute. But I have 6 of them. Only one is permanent. The other 2 came out in limited edition collections. MAC released a Sheen Supreme limited edition collection in 2013 and 2014. So I have a couple of those shades, and like I said, I went to the CCO last week and I saw all of those shades there, so it really is going to depend on your location, but check your CCO so you can check out all those colors. But the permanent shade I have is one of my favorite lip products in general, and this is the shade Asian Flower. This is a beautiful lavender shade, but this is actually pretty wearable. I have a lot of purple lipsticks and they are not all the same. This is totally wearable and it makes my lips look fuller and more plump and luscious. I really love this color. And then quickly I'll show you the limited edition shades I have. This is a shade from 2013. This is Playtime, a really nice bright blue tone pink. Then I have Pleasure Fruit from the limited edition 2013 collection, and this is a corally red. So then I have 3 shades from the 2014 limited edition collection. This is Lust Extract, which is a really nice fuchsia purple. Then I have Phosphorescent, which I'm wearing today, which is a really nice papaya coral. And lastly, I have Phenomenal, which is a really pretty berry coral. So now moving on to some tools from MAC that I really love. First off would be Fix Plus. This is the old packaging. The new packaging is super similar. I think it's just frosted. But this is a great multi-use product. You can use this as a prep spray or a makeup refresher. You can use this to wet your pigments, and the purpose that I use it for mostly is to wet my foundation brush before I apply my foundation to really help it buff and blend into my skin. This is a must-have when it comes to thick foundations, and if you're applying them with a brush. I absolutely love this. It has a really great scent to it, not overpowering, just really nice, light, and fresh. This is a great multi-use product from MAC. Next I have one brush from MAC. This is the 239 flat shader brush. You guys know I love my e.l.f. and Real Techniques brushes, but this is one that I would buy again. It was like $25 or something, but it is so worth it. This packs shadow onto the lid so perfectly and gives a nice like opaque wash to the lids. I love this brush so much. It has the perfect amount of density to it. It is the best packing eyeshadow brush I've ever used. And my last product would be their Pro palettes. The palettes themselves cost either $8 or $10, and the inserts cost $2. You can get eyeshadow insert, cheek insert, Pro Longwear shadow, and lipstick inserts. And I love these palettes so much. I really love that these palettes have a clear top. Since I can see the product, I actually reach for it a lot more than my other palettes, and it's just beautiful to look at. The palettes are a bit bulky, but they are sturdy, and I don't mind that bulkiness. These are also a lot more inexpensive than the Z palette. And what I love about the insert is that it keeps everything lined up perfectly. If you don't use an insert, you can fit more products in the palette, but for me, I'm so OCD about everything being perfectly aligned. I'm totally fine not fitting more things in this palette. So the palettes themselves are really great quality, very sturdy, and quite inexpensive. So lastly, I have my 2 limited edition products that I wanted to share with you. Again, if you're able to find these online at a CCO, if they are re-released, I want you guys to buy them because they are so incredible. So first we have a face product. This is one of the Extra Dimension skin finishes in the shade Superb. This one was really popular, as well as Whisper of Guilt, which was not re-promoted as many times as Superb was. And the reason I love the Extra Dimension skin finishes is because they have a intense metallic finish. I am someone that does not really like a subtle highlight. I like a wham bam pow in your face highlight, and this will give it to you. This is a beautiful silvery rose shade. I love this. Super pigmented. This is a highlighter I really reach for in the winter time. So if these are ever re-released, I would recommend you pick up at least one shade of them. The formula is incredible. My last limited edition product would be the Patent Polished Lip Pencils. I do have a review which I will link for you guys, and I have the shades Go for Girly and Fearless, and I also saw these at the CCO last week. My store just didn't have all the shades, so definitely check your store to see what shades they have and if they have any of these, but these are some of my favorite jumbo lip crayons. These do not really stain your lips, but these give really great opaque coverage. They are not too drying or too glossy. The texture is right in the middle, which I love, and I am totally obsessed with both of these shades. Go for Girly is the perfect pinky coral that I've been searching for in a jumbo lip crayon but have never been able to find. So I have worn this down a ton. Also, when you first get these products, they start out rounded off. They're not pointed, which kind of stinks for some people if you really need to be precise with applying to your Cupid's bow. And I will show you the Fearless shade, which is just a really pretty blue toned pink. So I have high hopes that these will be re-promoted or maybe even made permanent. I know in the Sharon Osbourne collection, they re-promoted 4 of this shade, so hopefully that will happen in other collections because I would definitely buy more of these. I love the formula that much. So guys, those are all the products that I love from MAC. I do have a MAC Hits and Misses that I filmed about a year ago, but if you want to see more products that I don't love as much from MAC, I will have that linked down below for you guys as well. So that was my top 10 plus 2 extra MAC products. Like I said, MAC is one of my favorite brands. I hope that you will check out all the other videos and links that I have for you guys, and let me know in the comments down below what are your favorite MAC products and your favorite shades, because I can never have too much MAC. Thank you so much for watching. Please rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye guys.